have the full start list in front of us, right from the very first athlete, Katie Hawkins of Tipton and Loughborough University, Claire Fagan of Mullingar in Ireland, Abby Brooke of Wakefield, Alma Cortez Garcia of Mexico, Libby Huxley of Preston, Philippa Bowden, the aforementioned Philippa Bowden of Aldershot Farnham and District, Neve Brown of the same club, and Phoebe Anderson of Herne Hill. So Herne Hill with the very distinctive Dennis the Menace vest, the black and red stripes, although she may be in her Columbia University kit. Athletes just kept waiting there on their toes, bouncing up and down. As one of my old coaches would say, when you're waiting on the start line, you should be bouncing, moving, twitching, you'd always say, but in a much stronger Scottish accent than I can muster here. And of course, because of the size of the field, we'll have a handful of runners just on the outside before they break in. So the first bend will be staggered, so to speak, and the athletes right on the left of your picture. So that's Forrest, Stevens, Fisher, Powell, McKee, Wills, Palmer, and McNeesby. I think they are the half dozen or so who will be right on the outside.
Other athletes to watch out for in this race, of course, Jenny Nesbitt, wonderful 15:10 indoors for her, and then she's just struggled a little bit since. Again, another athlete that shares a lot of her journey on social media. And if you're a fan of Instagram, you're a fan of YouTube. If you're a fan of YouTube, get yourself following Freddie Bowden. If you're a fan of Instagram, I think Jenny Nesbitt's brilliant on there. Just shares so much of what she goes through. And an athlete, she's just struggled with fatigue and I would say it sounds like something like overtraining syndrome since that wonderful indoor season. But she does look like she's getting back towards good things. 15:40 on the roads in Cardiff at the start of May. So Jenny Nesbitt, such a good supporter of the BMT races. We saw her try and chase Commonwealth qualification standard for Wales so many times back in 2022. There she is, just hopping on her toes. She's in the New Balance kit, 325, I think, on her chest. So she is definitely here. I'm just trying to keep an eye out for Ines Fitzgerald, who should be wearing 327. But I'm not sure I can quite see her, because I can see Jenny Nesbitt, I can see Alex Barber, now I can see Megan Gadsby. I'm not quite sure whether Ines Fitzgerald has made it. We did have her down to race, I think, in Watford, but she didn't start there, so that would be a shame if we haven't got her. So 328, City and Norwich, Megan Gadsby, another one to keep an eye out on. She's just wearing that club vest with red and white stripes. 8th at Bucks Cross Country this year, so good strength from her there. And Jenny Blundell, the Australian athlete, 329. Again, I think she might be another athlete that's missing, because she should be just on the end of the row next to Megan Gadsby, and Blundell with a personal best of 8:43 this season. I think that might have been one of the athletes that the target pace of 70 seconds would have been applicable for. So whether Tia Wilson will slow down ever so slightly to turn it more into 8:50 or 8:55 or 9 minutes or so for some of these athletes, we're just going to have to wait and see.
So they're off now, the first of the 3K races. This is the women's A race, and quite a busy old field, of course. So just bear with us whilst the break sorts itself out, and we manage to just get an idea of the front runners. And that is Olivia Forrest there, moving into first place behind the pacer. So Forrest is the athlete in the multicoloured socks. So she is in first place, or just moved into second. That looks like that may well be Phoebe Anderson of Herne Hill there, who has decided to take on the running behind the pacer. So the pacer, Tia Wilson, who has already been in action this evening, she is expected to run 70-second splits, and I think that is indeed Phoebe Anderson, who has slotted in there. And very handily, we've got this excellent shot on the back straight. So we can just have a quick idea of the other athletes. That looks like Garcia of Mexico in second place. And we've got Bowden right up there as well. So those are the athletes who are doing some of the early running in the early stages of this 3K race so far.
And Tia Wilson, very, very experienced. And she good showing in the 1500 metre race earlier for herself, and she's going to do a good job of pacemaking here. She's right on the back of the lights though here, but I do say that the preset pace was 70 seconds, and Garcia at the moment, the Mexican, does look keen to get involved in this pace. Phoebe Anderson was a good 8:59 for her this season, but indoors, so a long time ago, she's been representing Columbia University, and it's actually that oversized facility in Seattle. They used to have the track at Boston University. That's the one that's taken over as the fastest indoor track in the world. But it used to be the oversized 300-meter track in Seattle. And everyone used to say you just can't take those times seriously. But it's now the times at Boston University that are absolutely ridiculous. But Garcia, first out of the races at the moment. Phoebe Anderson, the European cross-country representative for Great Britain, back in 2019 in Dublin, looks really full of running here. She's in second place, and Nesbitt and Bowden just trying to keep their nose in this race. The athletes are moving really fast. They are moving at sub 9-minute pace, and Bowden and Nesbitt, they've been there before. They know what that feels like, but they are kind of longer distance specialists. This is a bit of a sprint for Nesbitt and Bowden, and the number of times that Jenny Nesbitt ran solo at a BMC, 15:30s or so, clocking on her own. I think she'll be delighted to have a race of this calibre with athletes around her. We're going to get the first kilometre split here. Tia Wilson leading the pack, 2:58, 2:57 or so for her. So Jenny Nesbitt in fourth place out of the races. I think still bang on 9-minute pace here in this 3000 A race.
So we're at the stage of this race now where we're going to have a very good idea of who is going to be up among the leaders when it comes to the business end of the race. We've got 4 runners who have formed their own sort of breakaway group, and leading that group is Garcia, 9:09.52 at her best. And then we've got the Herne Hill Harrier just behind her, Phoebe Anderson. And then we have Bowden and Nesbitt as well. So these 4 leading just at the moment. It'll still be relatively comfortable, one would think. And then we've got quite a sizable gap of about 40 to 50 meters between the top 4 and the next group of runners. So still Garcia, the Mexican, who is leading this quartet, which consists of herself alongside Bowden, Anderson and Nesbitt. These 4, as they are watched on by another group of runners just at the side of the track. What's sort of going through the runners' minds at this stage then, Hannah? It's a foursome just at the moment, and pretty good going from all of them, but what's going through the runners' minds?
Well, Garcia, she's no stranger to long distance running, to hurting herself. She's a 15-18 woman, and I think some athletes like to lead, some athletes find it stressful. I think Garcia seemed like a natural leader, but as she's let Phoebe Anderson just glide past her, and Phoebe Anderson, she's a tough cookie. She always applies herself to races. We've seen her time and time again at these BMCs. As a younger athlete, we haven't seen so much of her this season and in the last few seasons as she's been over racing in the States. But she is a ferocious racer. She is a tenacious racer, and I'm not surprised to see Anderson go into the lead. Some athletes, they like to be in the lead. They like to be the one applying the pressure to other athletes. It helps them stay engaged. It helps them concentrate. And Bowden didn't miss a beat there. She responded immediately as Phoebe Anderson overtook Garcia, and Jenny Nesbitt as well. She doesn't want to give Philly Bowden or Anderson an inch here. I think Garcia, I don't think she's done by any stretch of the imagination here, Garcia. She's a 4th place finisher over 1500 at the Pan Am Games last year. So she's got the leg speed, but she's got the 15-18 strength as well. So I think Garcia here was happy not to lead for a period and let the domestic athletes kind of group around her. Phoebe Anderson pushing towards the 2K split. They were well under 3 minutes for the first kilometre. But Anderson here with 2.5 laps to go. She's going to be right around the 6-minute mark for the 2,000 metres. So they're bang on 9-minute pace. So they've slowed ever so slightly in that second kilometre. So Anderson perhaps sensed that Garcia was letting the pace drift ever so slightly. But this pack here are on 9-minute pace. I'm sure we're going to see a winning mark under 9 minutes, but I can't choose it at the moment. Bowden not moving as smoothly as she was maybe a lap or so ago. Jenny Nesbitt, very, very active here, very engaged, is keen to not let anybody get away from her. But Anderson, Garcia, Nesbitt, Philly Bowden, 2 laps to go. I definitely couldn't call it, Dan. They're all just trying to get themselves in the very best position possible.
Yes, and what a terrific mental game it is between these athletes as well. They're always having to analyse how much they've got left, but at the same time, what weaknesses can they try and draw out of their opponents? How can they try and put their foot down a little bit and try and break their opponents mentally? It's going to be a really, really interesting final 650 meters or so, if I'm going to try and be precise. We still have the Herne Hill Harrier leading this, and this quartet has become a trio now, with Anderson of Herne Hill Harriers leading from Nesbitt, and I think we do have Garcia there as well just at the moment from these three. So 500 meters left to go. Still these three battle it out. It's going to be Anderson and Nesbitt and Garcia.
So Phoebe Anderson coming down to take the bell.
So Anderson going to really try and pour it on with the last 400 meters of this race. They've taken this race together. They were the leading quartet for so long, and now it's going to be Anderson who's really trying to put her foot down. She's going to try and break the 2 athletes who follow her, but Garcia's not going anywhere. Garcia moves into second place. 300 meters to go. The Herne Hill Harrier, Phoebe Anderson, still leads, and it's Garcia who's going to go past her now, and it's Garcia who takes the reins. Garcia, who was the early leader of this women's 3K race, and what a race it's turned out to be. Garcia hits the front. She's got a 5-meter lead or so with 200 meters to go, and she's leading Phoebe Anderson, who was leading for so much of this race, and now she's going to have to try and play second fiddle and come over the top of Garcia, and that's what she's going to have a right go at doing with about 100 meters to go. She hasn't been broken, Anderson. Anderson's still there. Garcia can't get her off her shoulder. Garcia's going to have to really work at this to hold her off, but here comes Anderson. Anderson's still got a little bit left. Anderson's going to take this. What a terrific race, and it's going to be under 9 minutes as well. Fantastic running. Anderson takes it from Garcia, and wow, what a breathless finish. Terrific running there. That's the first of the women's 3K race. Hannah, please use all your distance running now to analyse that one, as we have the last, I think that might be a Lincoln Wellington athlete coming through there. India Barwell just finishing. We've got a couple more coming through. A tremendous effort. Hannah, what are your thoughts on that?
I haven't, like I said, because Phoebe Anderson's been over competing in America. I remember watching her as a younger athlete, like I say, being very, very good on the cross country, and getting herself onto Euro cross teams and the like. But that was a senior athlete performance from Phoebe Anderson. She's got herself all the way down to 15:29 over in the States, and she did go to the NCAA championships for that 5,000 meters. So she's been cutting her teeth over there, and the style of racing in America, they don't have a lot of they don't have pacemakers in a lot of the collegiate races, but they're ferocious nonetheless. You're trying to get points for your team, maybe at a regional championships. You're trying to qualify yourself for something like the NCAA championships. And I think a lot of athletes, under that pressure of the US system, they really grow as athletes. And the way that Phoebe Anderson applied herself to this race is very few athletes that can lead, for lap on lap on lap on the middle, and then come under an attack like this from Garcia and be gapped by Garcia, but still keep their mental fortitude and their physical strength to a high enough degree to be able to go back into the lead. So Phoebe Anderson in the last 50 metres, that was just a beautiful piece of running. And I think we'll see Phoebe Anderson in the 5,000 metres at the British Champs next week. And she's a 15:29 girl, and they are going to try and go, I'm sure, 15 minutes at the British Champs. And I would love to see Phoebe Anderson just get involved. Also in third place there for Jenny Nesbitt, I'm really encouraged That's one of the best runs she's had since that wonderful run indoors, the 15:10. So to see Jenny Nesbitt mixing up there as well, and it was the way she had a nibble, you know, coming into the bell. Jenny Nesbitt was really up for it, and she was left wanting for leg speed over the last 400 metres. But Jenny Nesbitt as well, as she looks forward to the British champs in the 5K there. I was really encouraged by her place as well.
3:14.